Okay, fantastic. Welcome everyone to the Farmbot Security Powered by Land Watch webinar. I'm joined today by Amy Godsell, who's the Territory Manager for Farmbot, and will talk us through some of the finer points of the My Farmbot platform. And I'm also joined by John Hill, who's the Chief Storyteller from Land Watch. He's going to talk to us about some tips and tricks with regards to Land Watch security. And I've also got Stuart Pilcher here, who is a user of Farmbot Security customer. He'll be talking a bit about his own experience and some tips and insights for you to learn. And I also am expecting shortly Hamish Ellis. He just said to me on the phone he's out in the paddock with the sheep. So hopefully he'll be able to join us very soon. He's a producer in Victoria, and he also is a user of Farmbot, a Farmbot security customer. So he will also share about his experiences. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to pass over to Amy Godsell, who's going to ask a couple of questions with Stuart Pilcher, and then John Hill will also have a bit of a chat with Stuart. Okay, thanks so much, Amy.
Thanks, Olivia, and thanks for joining everyone. Stuart, nice to see you and put a face to your name. We hear that you are an avid user of Farmbot Security. Could you tell us a little bit about your operation that you're running at the moment?
Yeah, okay. I'll give a brief overview. I work for a mining company in central Queensland. We run a substantial coal mining portfolio, so we're not probably a typical client, but we have a fairly large pastoral holding that we operate typically under an adjustment lease type arrangement. So we purchased one of the security camera products just shy of a year ago. We have property about 300 k's from our main office, and it was vacant at the time, and we had a situation where we had a lot of criminal activity occurring on the property and a lot of theft events, and we really needed, I guess, a bit of an integrated solution. So, and that's where the camera came in. So I can't remember the name of the camera. I think it's a Lookout.
Yeah,
we purchased a standalone camera. It's got 4 cameras on it. We were trying to sort of rationalize costs by just buying the one unit, and we've located it at the main infrastructure at the location of the property. So on a shed, we've got cameras pointed to the driveway where vehicles typically come in, you know, most people. One's on the shed, fuel tank, and another one in front of a location where our caretaker has a caravan set up. So I guess the situation was we had a concern not only about security, but also the safety of the people living on the property that we have. So property, in an area where there's sort of, you know, quite a number of undesirables, and sort of, trespass events that we'd had, and we didn't want our people that we put in there to be at risk. And we found that having the camera and sort of, I guess, putting it out there through various means in the community, that we now have a fairly sophisticated, albeit small, but sophisticated security set up, as we've just seen basically a cessation on trespass events and theft. To give you a little bit of context, the last theft event was we were interviewing some caretakers to be at the property. This was before we had our camera. They came and had a look, and then they came back 6 days later to start the roll. And in that time, someone had broken into the house and stolen the smoke alarms out of the house. And the reason that I can establish that they did that was they'd pretty much stolen everything else by then. So we had a fairly significant issue. And I think the camera certainly helped curb that. And it's integrated with having people there.
Absolutely.
Like the local police involved, that type of thing. So
Okay, and you were saying that the theft and trespass on property has dramatically decreased since you've installed this system. Do you think it's just having it visible, it's a deterrent, or have you had to use it in recording devices to show police if there is an incident on property?
Yeah, good question. We actually haven't had to use any data out of the camera. We thought we would. And that's partly why we went with this product, because it's, better and, and obviously more expensive than some of the cheaper options, but we were looking for some quality there. We haven't had to use it. I think what happened is that people become become aware very quickly that you've got something that really, unless they're particularly careful, they're going to be seen by the camera. And we have a number of service providers and third parties like easement holders and that come to the property, and we have a sign-in process. So they actually walk past the camera to where they sign in. So there may or may not be anyone on the property, and they're aware of the camera and they give us a wave when they walk in, and we get an alert and we see that they're there. And so I think the word spreads pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. So it sounds like it's doing its job, and the deterrent factor is a huge thing for the success of that. Can you explain to us if you were using anything previous to this system? Did you have any other security systems in place, or was this the first thing you tried?
No, for this particular property, it's the first thing we tried. We wanted something with telemetry, so that would talk to us directly. So on other properties, we've just used your basic trail cams for more one-off type surveillance type of activities. So basically trying to identify who was stealing items off one of our properties, and they were good, but a little bit more labour intensive. We didn't have a phone on it or SIM card, so we had to go out and download it. So it's not real time. And I think there's a marked difference in the technology in the product. So, when you've looked at the 3,000th photo of a leaf waving in the breeze, you sort of get tired of that. So we don't have too many of those false hits on the camera on this one. So that's good. So they do, I guess, two different products for two different scenarios.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's all great feedback, Stuart. Can you just tell our viewers how you find the Farmbot Security platform? Is it easy enough to use, easy enough to view your footage?
Yeah, it is. Look, day to day, I typically delegate that now to people I have working for me. But, like everyone that's uses it is able to pick it up easily, figure out how to work. It's pretty straightforward. We've had probably 4 different people working on the property. Everyone's sort of, on the wrong side of 60, and they pick it up readily, and different levels of, competency in terms of technology. So I think that's probably a good part of it. It's easy to pick up, easy to use. To be honest, we don't really focus on it too much. It's sort of set and forget. So we're probably not using it to its full advantage. But it lets us do our core job. And, we don't have to worry too much about that part of it. Set and forget.
Absolutely. So it seems like it's giving you a bit of peace of mind having it there. Its deterrent factor is working well. John, did you have anything that you wanted to add into those questions for Stuart?
Yeah, g'day. Yeah, thanks so much, Stuart. That was some really great insights and some feedback on how you're using it. I think you've summarised everything. The only other thing I always like to ask people that are using our cameras, what have you noticed, or has there been something that you've used the camera for, or the camera's seen that you weren't expecting it to see or to be used for? Was there anything that surprised you about what you might do with it?
Yeah, I think I mentioned to Olivia once that there's a resident wallaby population, and we've since found out that they like to have fights in the view of the camera. So we'll occasionally get images coming through of two wallabies standing up and having a fight with each other. So that's quite amusing. The other one is earlier this year in February. So if people follow weather in sort of central North Queensland, we had some significant rainfall events, and so actually we're using it to see real time what was happening at the property, and you could see the rain bands coming across. So that was a little bit, it's not something that you really need, but it was quite interesting to observe, and we could link that up with a government real-time rain gauge, which is nearby. Look, probably the only other thing to mention is now we tend to use it now. We don't really set the alarms too much until people aren't going to be there. So currently there's 2 people live on the property. If they go to town, they set the camera for alerts. If they go away for a weekend, they set it. They're about to go away for a week's holiday, which would normally make us very nervous, but set the camera and we'll keep an eye on it. And, we can delegate that too. So at the moment, our caretakers are the ones that monitor the photos that are coming through and just keep tabs on things. If they go on leave or go on holidays, delegate it to someone else in our broader team, and they can be anywhere, as you can appreciate. And if there's anything odd that comes up, well, that can trigger a visit from us that, is typically sort of 3.5-hour drive to get there. So don't want to go there for no reason.
So we've also had Hamish Ellis just join. Hi, Hamish, how's it going?
Good, thanks, Olivia. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Thanks so much for joining. I know that you're busy on property with the sheep and the livestock. So it's really great to have you join us as well. Amy just had a couple of questions for you about your Farmbot Security.
Yep.
How are you going? I guess the first question we had was, could you just give us a brief outline of your industry and operation that you're running down there?
Yeah, so I'm in southwest Victoria, sort of self-replacing composite ewes and the beef trading operation, and bit of a lamb feedlot and beef feedlot as well. That's
okay, and
brief.
You've got that's great. And you've got an entry guard, I believe, on property for security, as well as some water level monitors and rain gauges. Can you tell us a bit about your entry level camera and what you've got that monitoring?
So that's sort of set up at a bit of a junction on the place where it goes in towards the sheep yards and where all the feedlot is. And it's, apart from being a security sort of setup, it's been bloody handy for like when trucks are coming in and all that sort of stuff. I haven't actually had to use it to catch someone from doing what they're not meant to be doing yet, but I'm sure it will happen.
Yep, absolutely. So you're using it more to monitor trucks sort of coming and going from property. What other things do you find it useful for?
Mainly that security aspect, really. Like there has been around this area in the last 12 or 18 months, there has been a lot of on-farm theft, fuel, machine, like tools and all that sort of thing. And that was probably the main catalyst of actually getting something like that happening.
Okay, and do you think that has possibly deterred people from stealing fuel on your property? The viewing of that camera, do you think that is a deterrent for people?
I'd say so, because it's not actually right on the front drive. It's sort of about 1 kilometre in on the road. So apart from the sign up the front saying it's security monitored, you wouldn't know it was there until you drove in.
Okay.
But I suppose if someone drives in and does a U-turn as soon as they see it, it's probably a good indication that they're not meant to be there.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good. John, did you have anything you wanted to ask Hamish while we're on the question side of things?
I think you summarised it really well, Hamish. It's amazing how much footage we could put together of people doing U-turns in front of the cameras. That's such a big thing. And I always try and express to people that deterring someone from stealing something is far better than reviewing the footage and watching them do it. So that's really good. Could you, I'm just noticing a lot of the names on here that are watching already have some of our cameras that maybe aren't used through the Farmbot portal. Could you touch on just the ease of having them all in the one spot rather than having multiple apps for everything? I think that's something really important just about how you can watch the security camera and your water level monitor all from the same spot.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like the rain gauge, I use the water level monitors. They're so handy. I think I've got 9 of them scattered around the place, especially in the feedlot. Like if something, especially with cattle, like it's finding an issue before it's an issue. Really, like if the water drops at a certain rate and you got your alarm set, and you're not going to have stock out of water, it's right. I drop tools, go and fix it, and it's so easy to check how much rain you've got. Like all the notifications come through for the security thing on the same thing. It's so simple.
Yeah, no, perfect. No, I love that you're able to use it for monitoring the trucks and deliveries and stuff like that as well, rather than just waiting on it for a security notification. Do you find the alerts are reliable enough that when you get an alert, it's something worth checking?
Yeah, I do catch a fair few birds on it and sheep walking past it and that sort of thing, but it's never missed a vehicle. Yeah, it's when you suppose. I think Stuart said before, like setting the alarms when you know that someone's not going to be there, because it does. Like you might have 10 or 12 people come in throughout the day and it can be quite annoying sometimes, but there's no need to get those notifications if everyone's on the farm, so you can turn that off.
Yeah, and it's pretty easy just to switch that on and off.
Yeah, it takes 5 seconds.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, just remember to always turn it back on.
Yeah.
Very good. Awesome. Thanks heaps, Hamish. That was great.
No worries.
No worries. Well, I feel like having that integrated system's working quite well for you, Hamish, as well. So we might use that to show everyone on the webinar just exactly what Hamish would see on a day-to-day sort of basis when he's logging into the Farmbot platform. So if we just bear with me here, I'll just share my screen with you. Hopefully everyone attending can view that screen. But basically what Hamish will be seeing when he logs on in a morning, having his coffee from his veranda, hopefully with his feet up, he'll be able to log onto the platform and see his watering points, rain gauges, etc., all on property from a flag point of view. Green obviously showing that everything's running smoothly. The orange or amber flag would mean that there is a slight issue and it's something to be aware of. And the red flag would be something critical's happened and we need to get out to that trough or tank and see what's happened overnight. All on this left-hand side of your screen is all your devices on property. So tank level monitors, pump control. But since we're talking about security, we can simply click on this security icon here and it'll take us to our cameras that we have on site. So we've got 2 options here that John has set up for us to have a look at. One's the lookout option, which I believe Stuart has on property, and one's our station manager option. So John, did you just want to talk us through a bit further about the benefits and abilities of the lookout camera?
Yeah, well, the lookout one is made up of 2 cameras. You can see there, unfortunately, that's just the back of the shed where we test cameras, that one. But you can see just quite how far it sees, right down to the bottom of the hill. The idea of the lookout camera is that it's got 2 cameras on it. And later on, I'll share my screen as well, just after this, so we can see what that looks like. The idea being that you can look at, say, an entrance gate, but then also back towards the shed, or you might have it somewhere where you look at the fuel and the front of the workshop. With 2 cameras on it, each providing 90 degrees, gives you that 180 degrees. Or like I think Stuart had the 4 cameras on there, giving you that full 360. So the lookout is, we called it the lookout because that's exactly what it does. It just keeps the lookout over everything, particularly the 4-camera one. You put that up in the middle of somewhere and you're going to see everything. Then the station manager, just like the name suggests, he keeps an eye on a big, broad area, not just what's in front of him. So he's what we call a PTZ camera, pan, tilt, and zoom. So you jump onto that one and you can see the image, but it doesn't stop there. Then you can zoom in on it and you can pan around. So we've got guys that will have this set up on a nice high point on the property, and then they can check everything within a couple of kilometers around the property. Or you can have it looking at a front entrance gate, but then also jump on, swing it round, look back at a trough that's 200 meters in the other direction. So having that ability to move it just means that you're not just looking at one thing, you're looking at a few things.
Perfect. And we've also got this option here, John, to take a still photo. So in what instance would people be doing that?
Yeah, super handy. If you've got workers that are meant to be using this to check on things, just having them flick a photo on there just to show, hey, when I checked that trough this morning, here's the photo, it was all good. Or hang on, I was looking over towards the side there and I saw the stock over here were doing something funny. There was something happening at the front gate. If it's a property where no one visits for ages, then you can just flick that photo and have a record of it. We like to keep that one on the database.
Yeah, and just from that photo I've taken there too, John, it's very high quality, very detailed.
Yeah, that's it. So you can imagine, unfortunately, this camera here, it doesn't have very far to see. Those mango trees aren't very far away from it. But if you had that set up in a nice high point on a property with a big view, zooming in, you can see that calf laying down at 200 meters away. Take a photo of it to remember, hey, that guy looked like he might have been a bit crook. Let's check into him, or just for that record keeping. You can see there when Amy scrolled down, it had the time and date stamp on there. So really good. We've got a few guys that are using these when they've got the wind farms and the solar farms being built on their place, and they're just helping them keep an eye on things to take the guesswork out of what everyone's doing with all these randoms on their property.
Yeah, perfect. All right. And while we're on this discussion, John, did you want to share the screen that you've got to show the guys on the webinar?
For sure. All right, let me bring that up, and then we can just have a bit of a closer look at each of the systems that the Farmbot Security cover. All right, so let's just jump into the systems themselves. We've spoken about most of them already. Entry Guard, this is the one that Hamish has on his place. Looks a bit like this. So for anyone who hasn't seen one before, we've got the solar panel on top. We've got the box underneath, giving a bit of coverage from the solar panel. Now, a lot of comments that we get are how big the solar panel is. And we do that really, really purposefully, guys. We want to make sure that this camera is going to run all the time. You see some cameras out there that you might drive past or see in the shops with a really tiny solar panel, and that's designed to only turn on when it notices some activity. So it sees a car coming or it sees a person walking, then it'll turn on. But no, that's not the case with ours. With our system here that we've got, whether it's the entry guard, the lookout, or the station manager, they're on all the time. They're always going, and we do that because you never know what's going to happen, and you never know what you're going to want to record. So we've got him always running, and same goes with the camera itself. It's big enough and strong enough to be recording a heck of a lot of information there, so that you're not going to miss anything. At the end of the day, if you put a camera up that misses something every now and then, or doesn't alert you every now and then, well, then it ends up being completely useless, isn't it? Because the idea of cameras is to take the guesswork out of things. And if you end up guessing if there was something else missed, or if there was someone else coming in, well, then what's the point? So we've got to make sure it ticks all the boxes and doesn't miss a beat. So the entry guard system, same with the lookout and the station manager, use 4G phone reception. That's what these 3 antennas here are for. And we've got an option to put a much bigger antenna on there. So if you're thinking reception at your place isn't great, it's okay. We can beef that up a little bit. All right. So the big differences are entry guard has a single camera, whereas the lookout has 2 cameras on the bottom. Now, I just want to be really careful about explaining how these cameras pick up something. So you can see here on this example, we've put it about 10 meters back from the front gates. This camera here is designed for front gates or a driveway where they're not flying past at some crazy speed, because at the end of the day, these aren't designed to get number plates, these cameras. So we be really careful to emphasize that, because sure everyone knows exactly what they're designed for. There's number plate cameras out there, and watch this space. We'll be bringing them in shortly, hopefully. But for now, these cameras are designed to alert you and say, hey, somebody is here. There's something happening that you need to pay attention to. And then you can make the call on what we're going to do with it from there. The lookout, as I said, 2 on the bottom there. Perfect at the front entrance or where you've got 2 roads coming in. The big thing with the lookout is that it's really designed to keep an eye on multiple areas. So we wanted this because we don't want to have to put camera stations up individually everywhere. We want, all right, let's see if we can put it all together. Much better economies of scale if we can just have 4 cameras or 2 cameras on the one pole, and then we can look at a lot of things around. And then the final one is my favorite. It's the station manager, often used on an entrance driveway like this, where someone's coming in. But obviously the big thing, as I was talking about before, is just how far you can see when you spin that camera around and zoom in on something a long, long way away. I'm forever hearing of examples when someone's used it to see something, maybe they're down in the high country and it's up on a hill, and they're using it to spin around and check on the weather or a fire that's going on a couple of kilometers away. Just the sheer capacity of how far this thing can see. Most of the time, though, it's positioned somewhere centrally. It's got a tank 50 meters to the right. It's got a trough 100 meters to the left, and it's got another bit of a trough 300 meters behind it. And with the one camera, you can look at a few things that's happening. So when you get that alert to say, hey, like Hamish was saying, hey, this tank's a bit low or this trough's a bit low, that from your Farmbot app, and you're like, all right, I'm on the app. I'll jump on, have a look at the camera. Oh, crikey, that pipe there's burst. So now instead of making the drive up there to see what's wrong, you're driving up there to fix it. So just a much better use of your time. And that's just how all this technology starts to actually work together. So the big thing we want to do is make sure that we're putting cameras in the right spot, so they can see what they really need to be looking at. Because if you try and see too much with one camera, you end up seeing hardly anything at all. Another final little note on the station manager, guys, is that the station manager is not designed to see everything in every direction all at once. A few people think that they should put the station manager up and then they'll see everything that's going on at the fuel and the shed and the workshop all at once. But remember, this guy's only seeing one direction at a time. So it's really important to remember, if you want to see everything, then you got to use the lookout. So here's just a couple of examples of our cameras and the views that they have. So the top left there, monitoring the fuel tanks. Fuel tanks is obviously something that is just so critical, because it is by far the biggest thing we get called up about something being stolen. Fuel is unfortunately really easy to steal, and more unfortunately, it's really easy to sell. Recent conversation I had with some of the stock squad guys was just explaining how critical it is for them to try and put a stop to people buying stolen fuel. Stealing stolen fuel is one thing, but it's the guys that are buying it that is really the issue. Same goes with the buying stolen vehicles and tools, but it just seems that buying stolen fuel is a bit of an epidemic going through the country at the moment. So one thing to remember when we're monitoring fuel, so if you're looking at, all right, I'll grab a lookout camera and I'll put it on the fuel there. If you were to put that camera too far away from those tanks, all you're going to see is a car pulling up in front of the tanks, and that's not going to tell you enough about what's going on. So when you're positioning a camera to monitor fuel, make sure it's in a spot where you can be nice and close, ideally between the fuel, looking somewhere between the fuel and where they're filling up. In this case here, you can see on the right-hand side, generally speaking, everyone was fueling up from there because the pump, the hoses came to just around that corner there. So if someone was to pull in, they're going to get a good view of what they're doing and see them walking around. It's really rare for anyone to pull up here on this front side to fuel up. If this was where the fuel up area was, where the hose was, I'd be talking them out of putting the camera where it is, because all you're going to see is the back of that car, and you're not going to see them actually fueling up. And if you can imagine, you take the footage to the police and say, hey, here's this guy fueling up with stolen fuel. The police look at it and they say, all I can see is someone standing at your fuel bowser. That's not conclusive enough. Obviously, they're still going to investigate. They're still going to talk to that guy. But what we're trying to do is not just give the cops an idea of what's going on. We want to make it conclusive that this is exactly what's happened. So we'll put the camera in a position that can see them grab the hose, put it in the car. That's what we're really aiming for. All right, jumping over to this one, monitoring the machinery sheds. This one's a real general view. And this is what often happens when you just want to see, okay, what's going on in and around the machinery shed. With this sort of one, you can see straight into the shed here, which is really good. At nighttime, you'd see nicely over to that shed because the distance isn't too far. One thing we always advise, if you're thinking about cameras over near the machinery shed, make sure it's somewhere where it's not going to get parked out, that a vehicle's not going to park in the way and all of a sudden you can't see it. And also having a camera, maybe a hardwired version of the Lookout where it's running on mains power, and you can put 4 cameras on the shed. Having some inside, the inside camera is going to be your best bet to get some good facial recognition of that perpetrator or whoever's sneaking around. The reason being that cameras outside are trying to see a fair bit. As you can see, like that camera there, it's trying to see a huge area. When nighttime comes, it's going to see a much smaller area and it's going to struggle to focus on everything at once. Whereas if you've got a camera inside, it's a much smaller area. There's a lot for infrared to bounce off, so you can see exactly what's going on. And we've found that our best footage at nighttime has come from inside the shed. It's really, really good. And then, all right, let's jump down to the front entry one just quickly. Where we put the camera here is very, very particular because we don't want the camera directly in front of the car, so it's just blinded by headlights all the time. And we don't want it too far to the side so that all it sees is the side of the car and the car's going past too quick. So somewhere like we have here, 3 or 4 meters off, so probably 2 to 3 meters off the side of the driveway, about 10 meters back, depending on the type of camera. And then you can get that good front and side view. So you imagine when that ute was coming across the grid, we had a good front view of him. And then as he drives past. And then we want that because we want to get that alert that says, hey, that's a car, and give us the best chance of getting the good detail of it. Other thing here, you can see this front entry camera. It's got the road in the background there. Now that front entry camera is going to be recording every vehicle that drives past. Now I know what you're thinking, like that might get annoying, but remember, it's not alerting you about every vehicle that drives past. It's only recording it. It's only going to alert you when it crosses an imaginary trip line that's put into the driveway across here. And we tell that trip line where to go. So when a vehicle is detected crossing through that threshold, that's when you get the alert. But we still want to record everyone that is sniffing around out the front here that hasn't crossed the grid yet. As Hamish said, half the time it's going to be footage of someone rocking up. You see them look at the camera, they do a big U-ey and they take off and they go to your neighbor's place because he doesn't have cameras protecting his place. Or we see the car driving past and the cops will come and knock on your door and say, hey, neighbor 2 doors down that doesn't have cameras has just been done. Any chance we could grab that footage between 12 and 2 a.m. last night because he might be on your camera driving past. That happens so often, and it ends up being a bit of a neighborhood watch program where everyone with cameras is watching out for their neighbors. And finally, this one on the water, that's just one of those ones that has a station manager on it. He's looking at that water point there. And then from there he can spin around and look at the weather, the fires, the driveways coming in and around to that water point there. Awesome. Thanks so much. Yeah, I really want to make sure there's heaps of time for questions at the end, Olivia, for people that have really specific situations is fine. If you want to run anything by us about a specific situation where your cameras might need to go or any struggles that you've had, feel free to ask any of that as well.
Yeah, so if anyone's got any questions, just put it in the Q&A chat. But one question I had throughout the week whilst chatting to people about the webinar for Stuart and Hamish is, have you guys had any trouble with drones coming through, or have you found that the cameras have sort of deterred theft using drones and things like that?
Hamish, you can go first.
No, never have it. Drones haven't really been a thing down here, or not that I've come across anyway.
Yeah. Stuart, have you guys had that sort of an issue?
I think the answer for us is we probably don't know. So, it's hard to know. Obviously a lot of people talk about drones being used as a surveillance tool for would-be thieves to figure out where they're going to go. It's very difficult to know. Hopefully they see that big solar panel, they might move on to the next place, like John said. So
yeah, exactly. John, what would you say if people are encountering that? What would your tips be?
Yeah, Olivia, unfortunately, we do hear of it a fair bit at Land Watch, people calling up and they, as you can imagine, it would send shivers up you if you're out in the workshop and all of a sudden a drone hovers down and is looking inside. Most of the time, the drone usage seems to be around areas where there's poachers as well, where there's the pig hunters and the deer hunters, and maybe hopefully they're just out looking for animals. But unfortunately, yeah, when you're hovering down and like going around the fuel tank and around the workshop, unfortunately it looks pretty ominous, doesn't it? We have this drone hovering around. We've spoken to the cops in the stock squad a lot about this, because it is a big grey area. Technically, it's an aircraft flying around, but then at the same time, they're illegally flying that aircraft around. My advice, and purely a personal view, guys, is shoot it out of the sky. Grab your 12 gauge, take a shot. Hopefully you're a better shot than me, because I would not have any chance of hitting it. But yeah, if you've got a drone just hovering above your workshop, yeah, then take it out. The last thing that's going to happen is some punk from town's going to go crying to the police and say his drone was shot while he was spying on a couple of farmers. They're never going to do that, are they? Be careful that it doesn't cause some gangland war in your area, but if there's a drone hovering around, it's a very, very bad sign that they're scoping the place for sure.
Yeah, good tip. John, have you got any extra tips in terms of security, of what people should be careful of in certain areas, and sort of different security tips that people in different locations could be careful of? We've got people on from New South Wales, Victoria, and Queensland, but if you wanted to write in the Q&A your region, John can also make that those tips relevant for your region as well.
Yeah, for sure. It does. It varies only a little bit across the country, and we spend a lot of time covering the whole country. And I was just in New Zealand last week as well. And generally, the consensus is the same everywhere, that theft is unfortunately getting a little bit out of control. Most of the time, I hear that the cops are doing a pretty good job in most areas. And unfortunately, maybe the justice system isn't doing as good a job at prosecuting the people that they actually catch. One big tip that I've definitely put together over the years is that when something does happen in an area, the cops, the police officers and the stock squad, they're going to get onto it, and especially if there's footage involved, then they're going to start working on that case. But don't expect anything to happen for a while. More often than not, when the police get the footage, even if it's pretty clear and pretty evident of who it is and what they've done, they don't want to prosecute them straight away. They want to build a case against them. So I always advise people just make sure that don't get too frustrated with them straight away if something's not happening, because they're trying to use that to build a case. That they don't want to put him away for 2 weeks in prison just for stealing a whippersnipper. They want to put him away for a good amount of time for everything else he's ever done, and for the next few things that he's going to do. So yeah, just be patient with them. The other big thing is really, really focusing, as Stuart and Hamish both sort of mentioned, is deterrence is key. Having that camera in a big prominent spot on your driveway, on the road front, is so key. It's about target hardening. We want to make sure that your place looks harder to hit than the neighbors down the road. And everyone always says to me, and literally a guy said this morning, he's like, oh, I don't want the place to look like Fort Knox. Everyone will think I've got something worth stealing. And I say to people, like, you've got a buggy, you've got motorbikes, you've got chainsaws and whippersnippers, you've got generators, a bunch of four-wheel drives with the keys left in them, and probably a gun safe with too many guns. Not that you can ever have too many guns, let's be honest. So the chances are you've got stuff worth stealing, and unfortunately that everyone knows that. And if they go to your farm gate or they go to the farm gate 2 doors down, it's going to be pretty much the same sort of stuff. So it's not a matter of like whether or not you've got something worth stealing or whether or not you make that known. It's about being the most protected in your area. I don't want you to just be the second easiest target and hoping that the easiest target gets hit. I want to let that aim a bit higher and try and be the most protected, so that when those no good people, we'll call them, rather than using any other words, when they're sniffing around, you want them to just go straight past your place. They see that camera, they chuck you in, and they're out of there. That's the biggest tip. And I always say to people, if you're thinking about, okay, well, maybe should we do the station manager, or should we do the lookout to watch the fuel and everything? Start at the entry. Honestly, guys, if it comes down to a budget thing and you can't cover every area you wish you could cover, then get that entrance covered, because at the end of the day, I'd much rather you called me up and then or called up Amy or someone from the team and said, I don't know if I need this. I just never get any footage of anyone coming in. That's perfect. That's what we want. The cameras are designed in a way that when something does happen, and unfortunately sometimes it does, that you'll get the footage of what's going on, and you'll get the alert, and you'll be able to see, oh, there's that clown stealing my fuel. That does happen sometimes, but I'd much rather that we didn't have anything happening, rather than just really good footage of someone driving your Land Cruiser.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, nice. Amy, are there any final points that you want to sort of share about Farmbot or the Farmbot ecosystem?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, just in the last few minutes, I'll just quickly share my screen again and just explain to you guys the integration of the ecosystem. There is a lot we can do with the system. I'm just trying to get this to work. We all see that?
Yeah.
So yeah, basically your Farmbot ecosystem. So there's your main monitor, and as well as security, being able to integrate onto the platform, which is a great relationship we currently have with Land Watch. We also want to monitor your water tank levels, your rainfall, and all those sorts of alerts that make your day-to-day living a lot more easier. So peace of mind. So that's one thing that John has been trying to explain as well. Having that security system set up, it gives Hamish, it gives Stuart that extra peace of mind, as well as your water flow, water tank levels, and your rainfall monitoring. It gives you peace of mind on property 24 hours a day. You can log in on the platform first thing in the morning and see what's happening from the back veranda. Lots of different options there. And I would just suggest to you guys, if you have any questions or you want a bit of further information about this system, feel free to reach out to any of us. We can give you more info. And yeah, just be mindful of what's happening on your property. We all know the times we're in at the moment, and unfortunately, there is theft on the rise. So we just need to be mindful.
Yeah, great. Thanks so much, Amy. Hamish, Stuart, are there any final tips that you wanted to share with the producers that are sort of looking to, increase the security on their property, or any things that you tried that you found didn't work, or any sort of final tips?
No, I just. Oh, sorry.
You go,
I think
mate.
it was just so simple. Like, it was that the process of setting it up was, I don't know, it took 10 minutes, and yeah, everyone who's coming in and out, it's it's great peace of mind, I think.
Yeah, my comments pretty much mirror that. So I enjoy the benefits of technology, but I don't enjoy dealing with technology. So it was good just to set it up. We did have a bit of a problem with the modem when we set it up, and I guess like many things, the standout is the backup service, and someone answered the phone and we sorted the problem, and it turned out to be, I think it was linked to our relatively poor phone service that we have, and got it running and away we went. So that for us, having someone to help us fix the problems when it's not working is probably one of the more important aspects, like any other piece of equipment.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's something that's really important to Farmbot. We have a Australia-based customer service team that all have agriculture background and are all over Australia. So that's sort of a big focus of Farmbot, to make sure that customer support's always there. So it's a perfect point to finish on. So if you wanted to have a one-on-one conversation with Amy, or someone to talk about what you might need, so someone from the Farmbot or Land Watch team, just get in touch, and we'd love to help you get everything set up for your security and sort of help you know exactly what might be the best things for you. So we'll send out the recordings from today and a bit of extra info, and yeah, please do get in touch if you have any questions or if you need anything at all. But yeah, it was really great to have everyone here. Thank you so much, Stuart, for sharing about your experience. Thank you so much, Hamish. I know that you're busy in the truck today and out in the paddock, so we really appreciate you joining. And John, it was really good to get those tips. And Amy, thanks so much for all the information about the ecosystem. It was really wonderful to have you all join. So thank you so much.
No worries.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll send out the recordings later on today.